Bought that from my friend Cheryl. You program anything you want on it. Okay, we're down in the studio. We're going to be doing some recording. I've got a bunch of originals I'm working on kind of all at once, trying to get drum tracks and bass lines down before I start diving into the guitar. And some vocal, but the guitar always takes me the longest. Well, I love playing guitar, and I keep working at it and have been doing it for decades. I am no guitar virtuoso, so things take me quite a bit of time to do. Like I say, all my original, I write everything, play everything, so some things go quick, some things don't. So doing the rough ghost track to a click, I call them ghost tracks. People have different things, but it's mainly the guide. Yeah, so anyways, what I do is I don't know what everybody else does, but for me, to save time, I make templates. So I have a main songwriting template, and it includes all the tracks to the drums, all the bass tracks that I will be using, I should say channels, and all the guitars laid out with the basic plugins that I use. So on drums there could be obviously EQs for each drum. Could be a compressor, might be a noise gate, although I don't use noise gates too often. On the bass guitar, a couple of plugins to get the bass to growl a little more. Add a little bit of distortion on the bass, just a tad. Actually, try it sometime. It actually makes it stand out a little bit. And then guitar, obviously EQ through all of those. And then there's acoustic things, and so I try and make the template incorporate all of those things. I might have, well, all the drums are pretty much singular for the toms, meaning one mic per tom. We're going to show you here. So we got one mic per tom, right? Then up at the top, we have two overheads. They are measured to the snare, equal distance. I may move this one out just a smidge. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to do another test. I move these for various songs, and I change cymbals for various songs if I'm doing tracks for people. So I've not done a full test on this yet after my last recording session. But anyways, two up on top, singles on all the toms. We have one on the hi-hat here. We have, I'm not using two double bass. Normally that would have, each kick drum has one internal, one external, and sometimes I use a sub kick, sometimes I use another type of kick drum mic. I don't always use the same mics. Like the one inside is a shorter but a bigger diaphragm mic, or that's like a Sennheiser. And this sub kick I made myself, which is like a speaker turned into a microphone. It runs into a direct box. Normally I have the same setup for both, but I don't use double kick that much for the stuff that I'm doing right now. So I just take it off the cage because it mounts to the cage and stuff. I just take it off, and so I'm not tripping on it. Yeah, the snare drum does have two mics, one underneath, one on top. So you have to do a phase check before you do a recording session. that's basically, you want to check all mic phases on every mic to bring out the best bottom end and round tone possible. Because some of these mics can cancel each other out. That's what you got to experiment with. And I can't do that totally by myself because I'd be running back and forth constantly. I can operate all this from behind that drum set with a wireless keyboard and mouse, and I do have a monitor to see back there. So when I'm recording, I don't need anybody, but it saves time when we're doing the setup stage. Now this drum set stays here all the time. And you wonder why, well, how come you have to set it up different all the time? I don't set the drums up differently, but the mixes are different because some songs don't need big thundering drums. So you have to kind of bring all that down. Might have to change some mics. Like I'm using SM57s, which are standard. On the kit for the toms up here, but over there Sennheiser, so something else might be required for a different type of song. So even though this drum set looks intimidating, I do dial back on the sound to make it sound, not as loud in someone else's song. So that's the scoop. So everything's mic'd. You can see the cables are run through the back here. There's also, you can't see it, but that white thing over there is a Pad 11, which is a Roland Pad 11 electronic thing. So that's running into the back also. So it's quite the setup. So everything goes into the board. You can see everything here. And then I separate bass, guitar, and vocals over here. Okay. And then we have the stack of amps. We got a solid state lab series. We got a tube Fender Deluxe, and this killer 1968 Fender Super Reverb. And then over there and into that tarp is or covers a Vox tube amp. That Vox I'll bring out here, and I usually can put it's either here or down over there. And I put a big foam box around it that the mic fits in, and you really get an isolation thing happening, and really brings out some better tones of the amp. It has removable back, so when I'm recording these amps, this styrofoam box that's actually not here right now, it's out in the hallway. It mounts on a cymbal stand. I made it myself, so I can raise it up to whatever amp I want, put a microphone in front of whatever amp I'm using, have the foam box that's more U-shaped now with the removable back, and isolate the amp sound. So all these amps are all wired together, and again, all I have to do is like there's pedal boards all under here, pedals galore, and all these amps can be run at once or one at a time. And I can use 3 mics, or if I'm just using one amp, I usually will put 2 mics on an amp, 2 different styles of mic, always a 57, and then it might be something else. It might be even like a Rhodes mic on the amp for something different. But it's always a Shure 57 and one other type of amp, or a mic, I mean. And I can run the guitars, like I'm not doing all these at once, so I can basically spread these out to do different things. Normally that's where we do the vocals, but I also use it as a room mic for the drum set or a room mic for the guitar amps. And then I can either run all 3 guitar amps, or just a bass, 2 guitar amps, or just 1 guitar amp. So to do all this stuff, and it runs into the Motu unit, I have 2 of these things. I can run 48 channels. I just use 24 because it's just me. But if I was recording a whole band here, I can plug in the other unit and have 48 tracks and record 48 tracks at once. That's crazy for me what I do down here. I don't really use it. So the second unit is a backup. Anyway, so this is the template, and I've color coded them. The green is for the drums, and you'll see we've got 2 overheads. I've got them panned pretty much left, right. The hi-hat, I got kick 1, kick 2, a kick 1 mic, and kick 1 second mic, so kind of an A-B thing. So then the second bass drum, which we're not using, is muted. Snares. The odd time I will run a second mic on top as a comparison, and a single bottom. So one is usually muted. So on today's recording session, we're just using a single top, which is an SM57, and an SM57 on the bottom. And you see this little circle with the line through it. You can see it there. This right here. That is the phase button. So what we're doing is we're changing the phase between the bottom and the top mic. That gets the best sound. If having it in phase, you start to have cancellation issues of certain frequencies, which you don't want. So when you put it out of phase, it brings those frequencies in full color, so you get the biggest, roundest sound possible. So we also have a a ride cymbal mic, and these are slightly panned already. That can be changed also. It doesn't have to be the rule. So we have the 3 toms, your 14-inch floor. My 14-inch floor is odd. I'm on my left side. I love left-hand floor toms. My favorite drummer, Dave Weckel, is right into that, and he's one of my heroes, and I've been doing that since the late 90s, and double floors on that side. So definitely a lot of drums. So then we have like 3 floor toms listed. So 14, 16, 18, panned accordingly. Then we have the sub kick 1, sub kick 2. Well, we already have sub kick 1 mounted. Sub kick 2 is taken off for now, and we're using an internal mic right now on the main kick. And these are the 2 room mics. I'm using a Rhodes vocal mic for one, and I forget the brand of the other one, which is a ribbon mic. Now I use two individual mics. I can run those stereo, so I have a different sound over here, a different sound here. Now some people don't like that, but what I'm basically doing is I can run them stereo, or I can run each one mono and put it right down the middle. But right now I just like 2 different sounds. It's not everybody's taste, but the panning is really light for the rooms. It's not full pan, and I just like the combination of these 2 mics. I know that breaks the rule, but that's just what I like. It just sounds good down here. I have a studio that's very skinny, so a panning of left and right in a stereo mix doesn't exactly show its true colors in this particular skinny room. So up on the top, these are all turned off. I like to record the drums flat without any effects. These are my usual normal effects, which a lot of them are EQs. We do have the odd gate set up on the kick, but I don't normally use it. I've got some other plugins that I use for drum bleed that are not on here at the moment, but they will be added. So, but anyways, the gates are there just in case, but I rarely use them. It's a pretty dry room, and stuff doesn't really get too overtone big. So I run 3 bass channels. I run a bass direct, I run a bass preamp, which is a David Eden, and then I'll run my bass cab. I'll mic the cabinet. This David Eden here, I switched that out to running my Galen Kruger head, which is an RB400. So I just bounce between the 2 sounds. I'm always running a bass direct, and then I split the signals up. But mic in the cab, I have a Henry 8x8 SWR cab, so the speakers are really small. So I try and put the mic near one of the speakers and near the horn, and it gets a really interesting sound. We run Ghost Track. That's, say, my raw guitar for the idea with maybe a ghost vocal to help while I put the drums down. Then we have I have 4 rhythm guitar tracks. Now, I set up with 4 because I'm usually, if I'm not writing all the stuff by myself, I'm writing songs with my friend Tony. So we incorporate 4 guitars. So for electrics, for anything to do with rhythm patterns, it could be strumming here, could be a picking pattern here. This could be a bridge change with a different kind of guitar sound, and blah blah blah. So I just set it up to have 4. It's easy to add an extra track. I've got 2 electric lead tracks. Whether you use both, that's up to you. And then we have 2 acoustic tracks, 2 acoustic lead tracks. Again, set up with, I don't know if these ones actually, no, these ones have no effects at the moment. That varies. Then we have vocals, which are my friend Tony's and mine. These obviously can be added to. You just duplicate the track and then start recording on it as a fresh track. I have 5 keyboard tracks for some of the originals that I'm writing right now of my own, because I've got some, I'm trying to do some, what do you call it, sound scores, music scores for like films type stuff, and I want this is a lot of my orchestration, so that's why there's 5 keyboard things. Then we got percussion, whichever that could be. Could be a tambourine or whatever. I know I have a tambourine down here, right here, because sometimes I use a tambourine foot pedal that I made, so the tambourine attaches to my left foot. So it's, instead of hitting the hi-hat, I'm hitting the tambourine with my foot. So sometimes there's a microphone down there on rare occasions, but I leave that in the template. And keyboards, percussion. Now the very last one here, this S-Drum Kit 1, this is actually a drum machine. I use this sometimes to turn on a drum beat while I'm doing the ghost track of guitar. It just, sometimes it's easier to play to a drum beat than it is to a click track. I like to write complicated songs, so it's more comforting to play along with drums and rather just a kick or click track. Okay, so a lot of this stuff, you go, oh my god, that's a lot of mics. Yes, it is. But we kind of take these tracks of drums and we morph them into subgroups. Now, not everybody does this, but I have the raw raw drums. Normally I don't have a compressor on the raw drums. I just want raw acoustic drums. I will EQ, but normally this is not in here. But I remember experimenting with something on the last. Drum parallel. This is basically, it's drums with all the effects. Runs parallel to the raw one, but this is where I compress drums or do some EQing, or, you know, a bunch of different things you could do in here. Then I have the drum effects. So if you go to the channels over here, these are the subgroups. These buttons here send signal to these on this side. Hope you're following the cursor mouse, because I can't hold everything else and move the mouse at the same time. So now we have individual drums. We have kick drums, single kick drum. This is how its final mix is. Then we have the snare drum. So I might have 2 or 3 mics. Now they're all getting focused into or sent to one main bus. This is called the bus. I've got hi-hat, all the toms, which are the 3 racks and the 3 floors, go into here. And like I say, you got effects and stuff in here. We got a ride cymbal mic, and then we have the 2 overheads now placed into a stereo bus, and the 2 room mics are now into a single room bus. So this is where you can change your panning. Then we have the 3 bass guitar tracks that I have in the template, which you can see. Again, here's 3 direct, preamp, and the cab miking are now focused into one main bass track subgroup, and I put effects on this side. Guitars, you know, we had a lot of guitar tracks. So we had 4 guitar tracks and are funneled into one subgroup. Guitar effects, we have leads separately to play around with. All the acoustic tracks you saw, which were 4, go into here. If it's an acoustic lead, I go into here. All the effects for the acoustics into here. Vocals, I have a general vocal thing for all the vocals with the effects. But I also made a subgroup for Tony and I in case we're doing, this will be lead vocals, or vocals in general, but if Tony's doing a lead or I'm doing a lead, I can actually punch this up but leave all the other vocals where they are. You can also make another bus just for harmony vocals. All those keyboard tracks of 5 go into one right here, all percussion into one, and then we have a ghost track. And the drum machine one isn't really affected too much, so I didn't need a bus for that. So this is what we do. I tell you, make a template and save it as that, all with all these goodies in it, and I swear you will save hours and hours and hours of headaches. Because each project you start, you can just go. Well, let's just show you here. I'm going to close down the template. So in my software, it tells you which, you know, what song you want to open. You can go into existing projects, go find it. So anyways, and this is the template. So anytime you come down to do a session, it's like, okay, I'm going to save so much time by just, instead of doing a template or a setup every single song or every time you have a customer, just open this template. And let's give it a few seconds. And boof, it's all there. It's all there. There's all my subgroups. These are all my subgroups down here. So, and these are all the recording channels. I have the drums spread a little bit wider. So the beauty of this is I can arm whatever track I want, and I have to unmute all my channels here. Oops. Unmute all my channels up to here for all the drums. And if I'm using a room mic here, I will unmute it. I have logged settings of these, of the Rhodes microphone room mic. So all I have to do is, I usually keep it pretty flat, but I will mix it, and I do have this charted out. So because I use this for multi-purposes, drums I usually record first all the time. The odd time they might be last, because I like playing to a whole song that's complete and putting a new drum track over it. But normally the drums are first, so this will be all set up for the Rhodes when I do the drums. Okay, so, and on this side of the drum set, you can see basically the same screen. So I can see that from the drums, and I do have a wireless mouse and keyboard to operate back there, and it goes pretty easy. The headphone mix back there, there's a mixer beside the drums. It's funneled from this controller here. As you can see, this cable go back there, and whatever I want in the headphone mixes are these buttons up here. And I can see all the levels electronically. My interface software is right here. Anything muted is not being used. This is a second kick drum, as you can see. So this just, it's already set level wise. Anything to do with these inputs at the very top we don't use, because we're using the mixer's preamps. I bought this board for that specific reason, because it has really good preamps in it. I could buy and use preamps and stick them in this rack. This rack here has effects units and stuff like that, a patch bay, a couple of EQs, and but I don't use that as much as I used to. I've gone more full plug-in based, just for the headache factor. I'm still always experimenting. It's just one of those deals. You never stop learning. I don't think you ever achieve what you totally want. I know I haven't, and that's fine. It's just fun to go searching for it. But the less hardware I found, the less issues. Plugins can be a pain too. Computers can only run so much stuff, and my computer, even though it's modified to the nuts, it's still certain songs. It runs to the limit where I have to rethink how I do the song with plugins. Only the odd time. When you're doing musical score stuff, you got a lot of tracks with keyboards and stuff like that. It's not so bad if you're using MIDI, but I prefer to use actual playing. I have my keyboard over here, and I have one behind the drums. So there's a synthesizer, and then I have a like I say, this is a piano, weighted key piano with a synthesizer, so you're always kind of running back and forth. So that's the scoop. That's what we're doing today. So basically use templates. Just save yourself a lot of frustration and gray hair. Always have a template. And that way, every time you go downstairs, when you start something up and plug in the mics, you're pretty much in the ballpark, and it's just easier just to move a few sliders and a few knobs and to have to start adding this track, adding that track, add the effects, put this on there, put that. You learn the hard way by doing that, and then you realize it's got to be an easier way. All these programs, they save all that stuff, all these recording programs. Anyways, that's a scoop. So what we're doing, hopefully that little tip helps. And you probably already know it, but when you have as many drums and gear as I have for just doing your own originals, you need some help. So, and you can, if you're doing everything by yourself, remember you can throw tracks in and out. You know, you don't always have to just, oh, it's bass only. Just make sure you write down or take a picture of the actual channel strip so you remember what you had. For me, I pretty much keep it, I try and get the sound of my instrument to be good before it hits this mixer. No easy task, but so I like to have the strips for bass and guitar almost pretty much flat down the center, and do my adjusting inside the software. I really want these for the punch of the what do you call it? The sound from the board, I'm blank on the word now. Anyways, you get the idea. If you start screwing around too much with the mix, I mean with drums you have to adjust quite a bit, but you know, I want that set before it goes in there. Drums are a real pain in the ass. Okay, thanks for watching. Gotta get to work.